What's going on YouTube is JT. I've previously done some deck profiles on Top's channel with Blue Underease and Centurion. And this time I have a Primite Blue Eyes White Dragon deck profile for you. I got first place at a regional qualifier flight at the NAWCQ this past weekend. I actually entered two of them on Sunday. Both times I made it to the finals. The first one I lost in the finals, and the second one I managed to win the entire thing. So we're going to go over the deck. We got a 42 card main deck here. So let's get into the deck profile. Getting out of the way, we play the two bricks, the two Blue Eyes White Dragon. We're not playing three, we're not playing the awful Kaiba build that tries to get out Magia. It's not worth it. You just stick to what is proven to be very efficient, and that is the Primite build. I guess you could also go with the Invoke build, that's pretty decent as well, but it loses harder to draw a Lockbird. But yeah, two Blue Eyes White Dragon is pretty standard. You don't go to one, even though it's very tempting, because if one of your Blue Eyes, if your only Blue Eyes copy gets like Bistield or DD Pro, you're kind of screwed if you already use their Roar. So, two Blue Eyes White Dragon. As far as the Blue Eyes engine goes itself, we play 3 Sage with Eyes of Blue. This is one of our 2 most important normal summons in the deck. This will add a level 1 light tuner from your deck to your hand. It also has an ability where you can send it to the graveyard to, I believe, special summon a Blue Eyes monster from your deck. Yeah. So you send it from your hand to the graveyard, and then you send a monster on your side of the field to the graveyard to summon a Blue Eyes monster from your deck to the field. So that effect is once per turn, hard once per turn. The normal summon to search effect is not hard once per turn. Then we got the 3 Maiden of the White. This is actually important because you send it to the graveyard from your hand or face-up field, and you place a True Light from your hand, deck, or graveyard onto the field. So you can basically use True Light's effect immediately because it's not set, it's actually placed face-up. It has another effect where if it's targeted, you can special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon from the graveyard. So this can see some play. Like if you already have a Blue Eyes White Dragon in the graveyard, and you have this on the field and use Mausoleum's effect to target to dump a Blue Eyes monster or a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand or a graveyard deck to the graveyard, you can activate the effect to special summon one that's already in the graveyard to the field. It doesn't come up really all that much like the secondary effect of Sage, but it's there if you need it. Next up, we have 2 Wishes for Eyes of Blue, 1 Roar of the Blue-Eyed Dragons, 1 Mausoleum of White, and 1 Majesty of the White Dragons. A lot of people like to go 3. I probably should have played 3 in this deck, but my thinking was that it really sucks to brick on more than 1 in your hand. And plus, if you run out of targets, like if you already have your like Majesty in a Roar, and you top deck into your 3rd Wishes, it really sucks. So you don't really want to do that. But yeah, having 3 does increase the consistency of opening your main 2-card combo, which is having like a Primite load/barrel and either a Sage or Wishes. So 3 would probably have been the better choice, but I decided to err on the side of caution and not brick on it. There was actually times during the regional flight, the first regional flight, where I opened 2 Wishes in either the Roar or the Majesty, which left the second one pretty much dead in my deck, so that really sucked. But I just chose 2. Roar will summon your Blue Eyes White Dragon from your deck, graveyard, or banishment. So if your opponent Bisteals your Blue Eyes White Dragon, you can still get it back with this. This is a non-target pop, which requires you to reveal any number of Blue Eyes White Dragons from your hand, face-up field, or graveyard, and pop the same amount of cards, up to the same amount of cards, non-targeting. Really good disruption there. And then we also have the mandatory True Light, which will be set with Majesty. It has 2 different effects. Well, 2 different activated effects. You can either special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand or graveyard, or you can set a Blue Eyes White Dragon, well, a Scholar Trap that mentions Blue Eyes White Dragon from your deck. That's a different name than one already in your graveyard. So if you have none in your graveyard, you can just basically set anything like Wishes, Roar, Majesty, etc. It also makes it so your Blue Eyes White Dragons cannot be targeted by opponent's card effects. A neat thing about this is that if it's sent to the graveyard, it destroys all monsters you control. However, if it's just banished or it's returned to the hand, it does not, which is contrary to its Dark Magician counterpart, Eternal Soul, which I thought that'd be pretty cool, that they let True Light not destroy your stuff if it's simply returned to the hand or banished. Next up, we have the Primite engine. The Primate engine is actually really good with this deck because it has a lot of synergy with the normal monsters and such. So we play 3 Ether Barrel, 3 Lorded Load, and 1 Drill Beam. I debated playing 2 Drill Beam because I thought it'd be a great board breaker, and stealing it as much as possible would also be great, but I ultimately decided on 1 for space issues. Ether Barrel actually allows you to play under Perilia and, well, not Perilia, but Fualos really good. So since Fualos will draw your opponent card every time you special summon a monster from your deck or extra deck, we can give them a minimum. We can give them only 1 draw and still end on a pretty respectable board. So what you're going to do is you're going to normal summon the barrel and search load or set load and then search drill beam, or you're going to activate load, search barrel, then set drill beam. And if you want to get your Blue Eyes White Dragon in the graveyard, you're going to want to do that. So you're going to activate barrel's secondary effect, which will send itself to the graveyard and then send a normal monster from your deck to graveyard. So it's going to send Blue Eyes White Dragon there. So, and then you're going to use Maiden. You're going to send it to place True Light on the field. You're going to use True Light to either set a Majesty or Wishes. You'll probably set Wishes. You'll use Wishes effect. You'll add like a Veiler and a Majesty, which is typically what I will do. And then you're going to go ahead and use Load's effect to summon Blue Eyes White Dragon from the hidden deck or graveyard. In this case, it will be just the graveyard since you already have a Blue Eyes White Dragon there. So your opponent will not get a draw off that. They'll trigger Maiden. They'll do the usual combo, Wishes, Banish, target the Blue Eyes White Dragon, equip it with Neo. And then you'll go into Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, which will just net your opponent 1 draw. Well, maybe 2 if they use 2 Fualos. And then you'll end on Spirit, Drill Beam, Majesty, and Veiler in hand with True Light. And that's already a formidable board with your opponent only getting 1 draw off of Fualos. That's usually the end board I go for anyways. Like, before this event, I used to go for Heretic Seals plus Spirit Dragon. I used to go all out on the board, but it's not worth it because your opponent can always be playing Super Poly and break that board easily. But if you just have Spirit on the field, you can't really Super Poly unless you summon another like monster for them to Super Poly away. So that's why I like that. Next up, we have the 4 random 1-ups. We got 1 Pot of Prosperity. We have 1 Triple Tactics Talent, 1 Call by the Grave, and 1 Crossout Designator. The Prosperities are to just filter out your deck, sculpt your hand decently. It's in addition to Wishes for consistency. You'll use it to also try to get into your side deck cards. I did that in my first regional fight, trying to get into Mistaken Arrest, which you'll see in my side deck later. These 3 are for the anti-side deck. I'm not anti-side deck, anti-hand traps. Crossout Designator to call a hand trap that might be very detrimental to your strategy, depending on your hand. Call by the Grave to stop like stuff that other hand traps and talents to punish your opponent for using like Droll or something. Droll doesn't usually hurt this deck, but in game 1 of my matchup against Memento in the finals, I crossed out my opponent's Droll because I really want to get as much search as possible, but I don't usually do that. However, I felt it was really necessary. I could play for all the other hand traps pretty much just fine. And last but not least, we have a whopping 17 hand traps in the main deck. We play 4 Molocharmies. I'm playing 3 Fualos and 1 Perilia. While Perilia is really good against the Ryziel deck, Fualos neutrally hits Ryziel pretty well, especially Ryziel Mitsurugi when they summon off of like Hibikiri. And Fualos does more damage to Malice than Perilia, but I have 4 just as a nice balance. Then we have 3 Ash Blossoms. Card's kind of mid on its own, but it's decent when you have it in conjunction with other hand traps. 3 Jolt Lockbird. This card is actually really, really good against Mitsu Ryziel. Other decks that search a lot. We have 2 Effect Veiler. Target negation's pretty cheap. Well, not really cheap, but pretty mid. But you play this Veiler. Play Veiler because you can search it out with Wishes. You also play it to hit like Gold Leo and Luna Light, and you hit the Protos, which sees a lot of play. 1 Magma. Play that because it bridges the Primite engine. It's basically an extra hand trap to get rid of like a light or dark in the opponent's graveyard that might be damaging to that you don't want to see come out or whatnot. It also adds like a Blue Eyes White Dragon at the end of the turn. So if I'm going first and my opponent like Nibiru's, I make seals and my opponent for some reason Nibiru's and I have Majesty set, I will just summon this off of the seals. I'll activate the effect. I'll add a Blue Eyes White Dragon at the end of the turn, so I'll have one in the graveyard for my combo, one in hand, so I have 2 pops of Majesty. Then we have 2 infinite permanents. Again, target negation is not that great. Doesn't really do much against Mitsurugi, but I see to throw it like ices and X's and swords and Goldios. And sometimes you can either even use on the opponent's detonator. If they pass, go detonator pass. And that's the only thing that they have. And last but not least, we have 2 Dominus Purge. This could have been anything else, really. It's okay. It's not the best. This could have been like Nibiru or Ghost Spell, but I ultimately kept Dominus Purge because it's additional negation. Search negation. It's like a 4th and 5th copy of Ash Blossom. Like, it can hit players when they use it during the draw phase. It can hit like Sword or X, Cross even. It's not too bad. Hits Power Prosperity on the opponent. Hits their Total Tactics Thrust. If like Ash early in the turn, they're trying to like use Thrust to set like some blowout card against you, just hit with Purge. The only bad thing is it kind of conflicts with Magma Hut and Ash, so you really need to use like these 2 first before you use Purge. Next up, we got the extra deck. In the extra deck, I am playing currently 2 Spirit of Eyes of Blue. Before the event, this was 3, but I swapped ratios, swapped it with another card in terms of ratios. This card actually came up. Its secondary effect where you attribute it to summon a Blue Eyes monster if you're in a graveyard. It actually came up for me, where I attributed it to summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon. 2 Heretic Seals. One of my inboard pieces. If I'm opening just a Primate Engine and no like Maiden Sage, then I'll usually go Seals, Drill Beam, pass with maybe some hand traps. It's a decent end board. You really have to time your interruptions correctly. 1 liner. It is the Hida of the extra deck. Remember when Hida was used continuously in like Fire Kings, Snake Eye? Well, liner is being used here. You just need 1 light monster at least, and then you can summon it. Take one of the opponent's light monsters. Could be like the detonator that's in the graveyard. Could be an Ice Seal. Could be Engraver. Wherever you don't want your opponent having access to. This card's also phenomenal in the mirror match. And also, if you want to end on it, and you're in a simplified game state and you really want to get to your Blue Eyes engine, you just let your opponent crash into it. You add like Sage or Maiden. Good stuff. We got Synchros next. We got 3 Blue Eyes Spirit Dragons. This is a ratio that I swapped it from Spirit of the Blue Eyes. I was playing 3 of the Link 1s and 2 of these before the event, but I swapped the ratios around because I felt that it was more important to get into my engine in the grind game than to get into another Spirit. Because I have a True Light to summon the Blue Eyes White Dragon and trigger Maiden. So, yeah. Next up is the tag outs for the Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. We got 1 Ultimate, 1 Lightstorm Dragon, 1 Moonlight, and 1 Ancient Period Life Dragon. Moonlight almost never came up during the regional fight. I think it came up like 1 match, and that was against the Unchained player. The Lightstorm just pops back row. This provides a Spell Trap monster effect negation on the field, and if it's destroyed, you can summon a light dragon monster from your graveyard. It will get destroyed if it's summoned by Spirit Dragon, so it will always be alive. This card was the MVP of the event. Like, I closed out so many games, like going with Spirit Dragon attack, Blue Eyes White Dragon on the field attack, and tag out into this in defense and attacking for game because it attacks while in defense position. Honestly, MVP of the tournament. 1 Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon and 1 Neo Ultimate Blue Eyes White Dragon, or 1 Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. This card cleans up really well. Like, it is a nice board breaker if you can get to it. You summon it, you can attack each of your opponent's monsters once, and when it battles, you can set a trap card that's already in your graveyard to the field. You can set like a Dominus Purge you've already used, you can set Infinite Permanence, you can set True Light that was destroyed earlier, or set Majesty. Most of the time it's going to be Majesty that I set, or True Light. Powerful card. This can actually break a Lunalite board if you can bait out like the Spell Trap negate, and you can get rid of the SP and the Baguska, and you just bait out the destruction of your opponent's Ligers. So you just basically somehow get this to the field, use Mausoleum to dump a Blue Eyes White Dragon monster power up, and swing over both Ligers. That's really hard to do though. I think Lunalite is actually a terrible matchup for this deck. And last but not least, we got Typhon. I didn't really use it at all throughout the tournament, but it's there just in case. I don't think it's that good against Ryzel, because if your opponent ends on like Detonator plus Cross, you use Typhon's effect, they're just gonna cross negate it, and then they can just swing over it with Detonator. So I don't really find it to be too great, but in a simplified game state, it's pretty good. It's actually a really solid card. Just remember that you cannot summon monsters after you summon it. Next up, we got the side deck. I like this side deck for the most part, but we'll get into the changes I might make. We have the other two Perilia in the side deck. Again, I'll probably set out one Fuwalos and another card and put these two in, because Perilia does more to Ryzeal than Fuwalos. We have two DD Crow. I chose these over Bystial because while Bystials do provide a body to the field, and they have synergy of Magma Hut, where Magma Hut can just search another Bystial. These two will hit stuff like Mermail and Fire King, and you don't want to have like Bystials dead against those. You want to hit, like, the Mermail deck is extremely scary if you go for second against it. So what you're going to do is when you send something to the graveyard as cost or a water effect, you're going to use DD Crow on like say Dragoons, and they can't get the effect because it was moved. You can also use this on like spells and traps that the opponent might have in the graveyard, like activate like maybe their Wanted poster. Dinomorphia, one of the Dinomorphia cards that reduce battle damage. This actually came up in the first regional flight. I used Pondu and banished this trap card during the main phase, which prevented battle damage. I went right to battle phase and I did some damage. Next up is 3 Lancia. This is for Malice, and it's for Crystron, it's for other stuff that make other decks that benefit off of banishing, like Lunalight. Also, DD Crow was sided in for Crystron, even though I didn't face it. This is also good against Memento. I actually sided this in and dropped Wallace plus Lancia, game 2 against Memento in the finals, and my opponent really had to take an awkward route to play. I have a second Drill Beam. Remember when I said I was considering 2 in the main deck? Well, I didn't have room for 2, so I put the second one in the side deck. It's good to, I usually side this in going first and second, because this will be a nice board breaker if I go second. This will increase my odds of seeing one if I go first. It's a resettable Omni Negate that also removes the monster it's targeting. One thing to note is, if your opponent's monster's effect is already negated, whether it's via Infinite Impermanence, Skill Drain, what have you, you cannot use this to get rid of it. It needs to be able to negate the effect to get rid of it. So yeah, gotta remember that. My next cards are 2 cards that remove back row. 1 Lightning Storm, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster. I'm always going to keep back row removal on my side deck regardless of the event, because you never want to face like a full-on back row deck and not have an answer to it. Actually, open this game 2 against Memento. My opponent was on I Have You on Better Have It, and I had Lightning Storm in my opening hand against them. Lightning Storm destroyed their Goblin Breakout spell, plus there can only be 1, which would have actually really screwed me over. So thankfully I had the Lightning Storm for that. Next up, we have 2 Salesman. This card was okay. This could have been anything else really, but Salesman is interesting because you can use it as a board breaker as well. Your opponent establishes a board like maybe Detonator or Phoenix Desiree, or even Liger, because this affects the player and not the opponent. So you can like call Liger, so they can't use Liger's effect to pop everything. It's also good going first because you can call a hand trap that might stop you or might cause problems for you. So like if I care more about Infinite Impermanence or draw Lockbird and I'm going first, I'll just use that, call either one, and then I can combo off. Or if I care about draw Lockbird, I will do that as well. I think I did that in one of my matches. Yeah, I did do that in one of my matches where I called draw Lockbird because I want to get a bunch of searching done. I mean, I saw that this deck can play for Droll decently, but to maximize my board, sometimes you do need to get a good amount of searching done, like with Wishes and Lord of the Lows. So that's where calling Droll Lockbird will come in handy. You can also call stuff like in the graveyard for a Salesman. It also forces out negation. And the last 3 cards I have are Mistaken Arrest. This deck does not need to do a lot of searching for follow-up. Most of your follow-up comes from using True Light to summon Blue Eyes White Dragon from the graveyard, then summoning Maiden. We don't need to search. Once after turn 1, after we combo off, we search out for Lord Load, Wishes, such. We're all set. So we can establish our board, go to end phase, activate Mistaken Arrest from hand, and the opponent cannot search at all. This will shut down Mitsurugi, this will shut down Ryzeal, this will search down White Forest, Mermail, Crystron to an extent, although not really. It also stops Memento, so having like 3 extra draw Lockbirds in your hand is pretty cool. It does make it so you cannot add cards until the end of your next turn. So during your entire second turn, you will not be able to add, but again, we don't need to add with follow-up, because we can just use True Light to summon like Blue Eyes White Dragon, and then go into Meeting, Spirit, Tag Out, etc., and control the board. And chances are, you have a full board established, plus you have Mistaken Arrest lingering. Your opponent's not going to be able to break your board. So that is pretty much the deck list. I really like the deck, playing the deck itself. I actually like Primite Blue Eyes. I think it's an underrated deck. It doesn't really. It really needs to go first. It doesn't really play in the boards too well, but if you can go first and win, you can have a decent chance of winning the match, because then you can try to go second when you're going into game 2, and then game 3. If you lose game 2, you can just establish your board. It doesn't really get hurt by multi enemies all that much. It doesn't really lose to Droll either. Probably the most threatening thing to this deck is like Ghost Ogre on your True Light, or bricking, or opening only 1 star on the opponent, like Ashy Wishes, or Ashing Load, or Imperming your Barrel, which would really suck. But other than that, that is the deck profile. I want to give a huge shout out to Toph for letting me post this on his channel. A huge shout out to my friend Lorenzo for taking us down to the NAWCQ. And a shout out to all my opponents for the most part being pretty chill. But yeah, if you guys have any questions or comments about this deck profile, leave them in the comments, and I will respond to them. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.